a story from that I'd really like to share is last year I was taken unwell, and it kind of hit us from out of the blue, but so many people were kind during that period to us. The grandparents came over from New Zealand, which was amazing, and the kids got to hang out with them and bond with them over the 6 weeks that they were here with us, which was very generous of them. But there was a young lady who's a friend of mine who she was going through a really tough time, and had been for a couple of years, and was really struggling financially, and also juggling all the things, being a mum, single mum, etc. But she turned up one day with a massive box of food, some pre-prepared meals, some fruit, some treats for the kids, some tea, some all sorts of things. And I knew she couldn't afford it. She didn't ask, she just turned up. Now that was very profound. It was like, wow. In a tough situation that she was going through, she was so kind to help us in our tough situation. And I thought, well, that's the essence of kindness.
Welcome to the Kindness Factor podcast, sharing life-changing personal stories of the transformational impact of deep kindness. Hosted by
Dr. Elia, the happiness doctor,
and Randy McNeely, the kindness giver. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be in the world. I'm Randy McNeely, the kindness giver, and I am happy to welcome you to another episode of the Kindness Factor podcast. I'm here with my amazing co-host, Dr. Elia, the happy Greek, the happiness doctor, the man who's got a smile as wide as the Mississippi. Just happy to have a chance to be on with my good friend Elia again. We are thrilled to be able to welcome to our show Robyn Simpson, and she's our wonderful friend from down under. She's a mother of two, or a mom of two, I should say. She's a researcher, she's a writer, she's a founder of Choose the Tude, and creator of the Kind Community Project. She loves to learn from people and do great things to make this world a kinder place, because the more people that are being kind to themselves and to others, the less opportunities there are for nastiness. Robyn, we couldn't be more thrilled to have you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm really excited to have this chat with you guys, because you're doing great things in the world with kindness as well. So thank you very much.
And honestly, Randy and I are not going to say anything other than ask a question. I just want to hear your accent. You can speak straight for the next half an hour. Your beautiful accent.
It's a little bit of a mix. I'm actually a Kiwi, a New Zealander,
Okay.
but I've been living in Australia, in the beautiful Sunshine Coast in Australia for 19 years or 18 years, and in the Sunshine Coast for about 8 of those. So it's a bit of a mix, the accent, but thank you.
And Robyn, it's evening for us. You're in the next day. You're a day ahead of us. What
We're
time is
ahead
it
of
in
you.
your neck of the woods?
It is now just after 9:30
In the
in the
morning.
morning.
Okay,
In the
excellent.
morning.
Well,
Yeah.
very nice. Thank you for coming on our show. And this is always about kindness, obviously, and everybody has a story or multiple stories about kindness. Is there one transformative experience as you look back at your life that you could say, wow, that really impacted me to such a degree that I became a kindness advocate? A lot of times there are multiple stories, but is there one that sticks out to you that says, no, that was the one that really changed the course of my life and changed my heart, really?
Good question. And I guess there are so many. There are so many. And my kindness journey probably started in a different way to some of the others on your amazing podcast. I guess it didn't start with kindness, but it has definitely morphed into kindness. So to give you a little bit of background, my daughter was being bullied really viciously at the age of 5. And I was shocked, extremely shocked at how persistent and vicious that bullying was, to the degree that we needed to change schools. So, obviously that's not kind, but what it did do is it inspired me to really delve into what is happening in our world, and why is our first world country, our society, so broken. So I sort of took it on myself, because I'm not one to just complain. I would rather, take action. So I took it on myself to delve into some research, and I found that the trends are spiraling downwards, which is probably no surprise. But what that did do is it inspired me to go, okay, so what are the root causes of these damaging social trends in our society? And what even more important is, what can we do to prevent them? And I guess that's what inspired me to create the Kind Community platform, because kindness is the antidote to bullying. After, that's a very short summary of the research I've done in the last 4 years, but that's where it's landed for me. So I've gone, okay, great. So the Kind Community project, it's there to inspire people to make kindness a daily habit. And a story from that I'd really like to share is, last year I was taken unwell, and it kind of hit us from out of the blue, but so many people were kind during that period to us. The grandparents came over from New Zealand, which was amazing, and the kids got to hang out with them and bond with them over the 6 weeks that they were here with us, which was very generous of them. But there was a young lady who's a friend of mine, who she was going through a really tough time, and had been for a couple of years, and was really struggling financially, and also juggling all the things, being a mum, single mum, etc. But she turned up one day with a massive box of food. Some pre-prepared meals, some fruit, some treats for the kids, some tea, some, all sorts of things. And I knew she couldn't afford it. She didn't ask, she just turned up. Now, that was very profound. It was like, wow, in a tough situation that she was going through, she was so kind to help us in our tough situation. I thought, well, that's the essence of kindness.
What I love about the story, and Randy, I know we both have comments to make about this, is typically when somebody's sick, with an illness, the most people who mean well, they'll come up and say, what can I do to help? What's beautiful about this lady is she didn't ask, she acted. Because sometimes people, what can I do to help you? Say, well, no, everything's okay, don't worry about it, I'm good. That's typically how we answer. But she went the extra step and took an initiative and moved into action and blessed your life. And that's what's so beautiful about this lady, who had very little means to herself, and yet she went above and beyond the call of duty, and loved you in essence through kindness.
And you're exactly right, Elia. Something that's powerful, that sticks out to me too about that powerful story, is that she, despite her circumstances, didn't hesitate to come and to give and to serve and to lift you, and that impacted you in multiple ways. But I can guarantee the fact that she did it out of the circumstances that she was in painted deeply on your heart. You're not going to forget that.
No.
You're not going to forget what she did for you and how it made you feel. And in fact, she, I would be probably not too far off to say that she inspired in you, again, that pay it forward feeling, that pay it forward desire. Because of the kindness that she gave you, you've been inspired to go out and strive to do the same thing for so many other people.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing about this is that not only did she leave that indelible positive impression on my heart, she showed my children. She was a model of kindness to my children and to the grandparents that were staying. And I have now shared this story, and I will continue to share this story, because I believe that one selfless act from her deserves to be shared, because it's going to inspire other people to do just that, Randy, to go out and pay it forward.
Something else that I just came to my mind, the first podcast that we shared this year was with an amazing guy named Brad Aronson, who is the author of a book called Humankind, changing the world one small act at a time. And he talks in there about what Elia brought up. She didn't just ask, what can I do for you? She just showed up. She acted. And he talks about that a lot in his book, the importance of just, sometimes you just need to show up and do something, do some laundry, do bring some food or do whatever you can do. And that's just powerful. She didn't wait for you to ask or anything like that. She just came and did. She acted.
And I have a question actually for both of you, but start with Robyn, since you're our guest. Why do you think people are reluctant to just show up? And they usually ask the question, well, what can I do to help? Well, most of us don't go to action right away. We do ask, maybe out of politeness, and a lot of people really wanted to help. They just don't know how. And I guess your story and Randy, as you validated as well, is like, just do it. Really. What is the worst that could happen? Somebody shows up at your home with bags and bags of groceries. Nobody's going to turn that down. They're like, thank you, I appreciate it. So why do you think people don't do that more often? I guess that's the question.
I think part of it is they're being respectful of your privacy, and they're not sure how to approach. They know you're going through a really tough time, so they're not sure. Like I say, they don't know how to approach. They want to show the kind intention, but they honestly don't know how to do that. So I think some really simple things that people can do are, like you've already mentioned, show up and just help out with the cleaning. Or another girlfriend of mine was incredible with just picking up the kids from school and taking them and feeding them, and so simple things. And it's stuff that they're already doing. Go to the supermarket and just throw an extra few things in the trolley, and then drop it at the doorstep. You don't even have to make a big hurrah about it. But that helps. Doing a little bit of gardening, because I couldn't do anything for about 8 weeks. So that was, but I think, to your question, why don't people do that? I think they feel a little bit awkward. They don't want to intrude. They do want to help. I think the intention is there, but they don't want to overstep boundaries.
It's interesting as you're talking, Robyn. I'm sitting there thinking, maybe a better question people could ask, instead of, how can I help or what can I do, is, what do you need? What do you need right now? And because I think a lot of times people are more open to answering that question. Well, I need my laundry done. I'm behind, or I need this or need that. That way you can immediately, this is going to sound terrible, but it's almost like this, that the really good, and I hate to bring business into this, but the really good salespeople find out what the needs are of the people they're working with. They don't say, how can I help you? They say, well, what do you need? And then once they find out what you need, okay, well, this is what I can do to help you meet that need. And if you can find out what their needs are, then it's easier to say, okay, let me do this. I can go to the grocery store and get that for you. Or, if you give me a few minutes, a little bit of time, I can come in and take care of your laundry or whatever you need to do. And then just do it.
And I've got to admit,
I like that, Randy. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Robyn.
I do too. I love that question as well. And I've got to admit, before I got ill, I found it very hard to ask for help. And I guess on that note, I'm a very private person normally. One thing I have learnt through this whole experience is that it's okay to ask for help. So I've expanded that experience for myself. And people, you never know what people are going through. And so for me to actually tell people that I had cancer was quite hard. Now I am a lot more open about it, because then that opens conversations, because the number of people that I've learned are either going through something similar, and therefore I can stand up and help, or they've been through something similar. It's quite astounding. And, there's a real connection in that, but it does actually, once people start talking about these things, then it opens that connection and it builds that human connection, which I think is a massive piece of kindness. And it would also help us feel safer saying, I need help, please.
I think asking that question would be a lot easier to say versus what can I do for you? If you said, what do you need right now? It's like, well, you know what? I could really use somebody going and picking up the kids from school.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to answer that question if you phrase it the way that you said, Randy. So I like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start using that. That's actually like better.
Yeah, and
Robyn, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to say that just came to me as we were as we were sitting there talking. I think that might be a bit easier way to approach things. And the reason I thought about that is because that's what somebody did for us when my wife had to have surgery for her cancer. They said, well, what do you need? Well, we need this, 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 and this, and next thing I know, people are showing up.
Yeah.
And we had our needs being met. Somebody coordinated a bunch of different stuff, and so makes a big difference.
How was that experience? I know you are paying it forward. It's an ongoing thing. How are you doing it? How are you paying it
Hello,
forward?
I'm Randy McNeely, co-host of the Kindness Factor podcast and co-creator of the Kindness Factor Human Interest series. Thank you so much for listening. We sincerely appreciate you. So here's the question for you. Do the guests and the messages we're sharing resonate with you? If so, we'd like to invite you to join us in our efforts to spread love through kindness around the world. You can do so simply by visiting our Buzzsprout subscription page at the link listed in the description and taking out a monthly subscription. You can pay up to $10 per month. Your support will enable us to continue to deliver great content and to take our message to a much broader audience. Remember, with kindness, everybody wins. Thank you for your support.
Well, I guess that's where the whole Kind Community project has come in, and so I'm wanting to do it on a massive scale. So I've created the platform, and I'm now inviting people to come in and share acts of kindness, and put their hands up if they need help, or there's an area in there for volunteering. If you want to actually pay it forward and go and volunteer, then there's an area that you can do that. I mean, a lot of this is about inspiring other people to become aware of kindness and how simple it can be and how much of an impact it can have. Because at the end of the day, we're all humans. We respond to energy. We respond to negative energy or positive energy. And I guess the whole idea of this platform is bringing communities together, individuals, workplaces and communities together to share and cheer acts of kindness so that we create waves of kindness, not just ripples, but waves of kindness. And I feel like there's a lot of things I can do. Like I used to do public events, and that was my way of paying it forward. I can't do those public events anymore, but I can do this online platform, and I can inspire people to connect and share their experiences and positivity through the platform, and that then creates those waves and we become, what I'm trying to do here is inspire people to be really good role models for the next generation, who will then be role models for the next generation. So it's about making systemic change, and I guess that's my way. That's what I can do with my skill set, is pay it forward in that way. And look, there's lots of other things we do as a family. We share our vegetables from our veggie patch with our neighbours. I've got a gorgeous little neighbour who is over 80, and she sends me a text most Thursday mornings and says, "Hey, coffee pot's on." And that's an act of kindness from her to me, but it's also one from me to her and me to myself, because I love connecting with her. She's amazing, and it's kind of that intergenerational act of kindness. So there's lots of different ways that we're doing it, but at the end of the day, I want to be a role model for my kids, and for other people.
You know what's beautiful? I have to go back to the original story about the lady that brought the groceries that didn't have the meat but did it anyway. And you said something that really struck me, that not only was it she served as a role model for your kids, but even for the grandparents. Like even they were inspired by that. Oftentimes you think about the younger generation, but I think kindness will inspire anybody, from the 80-year-old neighbor that you said that makes you coffee, all the way down to kids. And that's beautiful. I love that it went in both directions, kids and
Yeah.
grandparents.
I really believe that kindness is the uniting factor for humans. So, and I guess that's why I do things that I do, is because I really want to support that and promote that. Is, at the end of the day, we're all humans. Doesn't matter, kindness transcends geography. I mean, look at us. You're in America and I'm in Australia. It transcends age groups. It transcends gender. It transcends culture. So to me, kindness is that universal connector.
The thing that's interesting about that is yeah, if you ask the question, why is that? What is it about kindness that makes that connection possible? And the reality is it's because kindness is love in action. Kindness is when you're giving kindness to somebody, you're just delivering love. Kindness is like the capsule, and love is the stuff inside it. And so whenever we're giving kindness away, we're giving love away to people, reaching their hearts in ways that you can't reach them otherwise. As we're sitting here listening to you, Robyn, I'm thinking, I don't know if you've had this experience, Elia, but I'm sitting here thinking about all these other guests. Brian Coleman came to mind when she talked about the fact that
Exactly.
people can, if they need help, they can raise their hand, within the kind community. I couldn't help thinking of Elaine Glencoe, who we just had on, a couple of weeks ago, who is also a cancer survivor, and she talked about how challenging it was for her to ask for help, and why, and we got into a big discussion about why it's harder for givers to ask for help. But then I'm sitting there thinking about Brad Aronson, and thinking about all these other guests, because the reason they're all coming to my mind is because we've got that connection, that kindness connection, that overall heart set and mindset to want to give kindness away, bring love into the world, and make it a better place. So and really appreciate what you're sharing with us, Robyn.
And just, I don't know if you had a chance to watch last week's episode with the amazing
Oh,
Jacqueline
yes.
Way. This is for you, Robyn, because you talk about your kids who many years, 13 years ago, actually, started this kindness experiment with her 3-year-old boy, 3 years old, where they did an act of kindness every single day for 365 days a year, for 1 year, which is just the most amazing. I was stunned by how you can be creative and do that, and how he's become, he embodies kindness. He's 16 years old now as a young man, and everywhere he goes, everybody that sees him and knows him, he says that is the kindest young man they've ever met.
Nice.
So it's very doable to practice that with your kids, and to do it on a daily basis where it becomes really second nature. And that this is how we go about, and this gives me a lot of hope for humanity in a world that's so divided in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of darkness and so on. There's so much light too. And if we can teach one person at a time, one kid at a time, one family at a time, one home at a time, um, to live that way on a daily basis, because kindness for the most part is free, I think. Doesn't cost a lot. Doesn't even
Yeah,
cost
no.
not just money. It doesn't even cost time all that much if you think about it.
Well, you think about it too, is if you are looking every day, when you go around, when you're looking for opportunities to be kind, they pop up everywhere. They, more than you would think. When you're not paying attention, you miss a lot of things. But when you're actually actively and intentionally looking, they pop up. I mean, what's your experience been in that regard, Robyn?
Well, I like to call it conscious kindness, rather than random acts of kindness. Random acts of kindness definitely happen, but I really like to encourage conscious acts of kindness, so that it's something that you're consciously doing, consciously looking for, consciously celebrating as well, and acknowledging the people that are doing it, not just yourself, but and look, I guess the other side of this that we haven't touched on yet is, there's an aspect of being kind to self as well, and making, it's sure there's kindness to others. I like to teach my kids kindness to self, kindness to others, and kindness to things. And things includes the environment, so it's a really big thing. And we have that on our our fridge. I've been teaching them this for a very long time. And so I love that story that I haven't listened to that podcast yet, but I
It's
definitely
amazing.
will
It's
with
amazing. I
Jacqueline.
mean, yeah.
Because yes, I think, the younger we teach them, and kids know it from a very, very early age. And I'm sure, Dr. Elia, you know this from your profession, is that kids are sponges, that they are going to soak up what it is that we're giving out. And if we're giving out kindness, they're going to become kind kids. And then they're going to become kind teenagers and kind adults and kind elders. And so it goes.
I am going to ask you a personal question though, Robyn. How are you at being kind to yourself and practicing self-care?
Oh, wow. Great question, because before I was sick, not good. Not good.
That's why I'm
I
asking
did,
you though. Yeah,
yeah.
that's the reason why I'm asking you.
Yes. And so, like, I have meditated every day for the last 30 years. However, well, almost every day. Um, that has been one act of self-kindness that I have consistently done. But prior to getting sick, I was probably not as conscious of the self-care side of things. Since becoming, being in recovery, definitely prioritize the self-kindness and the self-care. And I do that through managing my energy, really noticing and tuning into how my energy is, setting boundaries, delegating. I don't take everything on anymore. I do actually say no nicely to some things.
Talk
I
about
used to
setting
just say
boundaries.
yes.
Tell me, let's talk about setting boundaries because a lot of people have a hard time, especially people that have big hearts and they give to other people. They have a hard time saying no and setting those
Yes.
boundaries. How are you implementing that? How are you doing it?
Look, I'm very, I'll say I'm very organized. So I use a calendar for everything. I use a calendar. I block out not just my work time, but I block out the kids' time, the driving time to get to school, everything is blocked out in my calendar. So I am very aware from a visual point of view of how much time I have. So time was one of my big things. I always said yes to everything and never had enough time. Now I'm going, no, I'm going to manage that time. So that's one boundary that I put in place.
Right.
And, so it's a case of going, okay, can I actually fit this in? No, sorry, I can't. And so I have learned to say no nicely. And, sometimes it's a no, not yet. Sometimes it's a no, sorry, not ever. I guess other boundaries with the kids. That's another thing, boundaries with the family. And one of those boundaries, for example, is if my energy levels are getting very depleted and I need to have a rest,
Right.
and literally my brain shuts down, my energy levels, I have to have a rest. So my kids know that if I say to them, look, I'm just going to have a 10-minute lie down, I'll go into my bedroom, shut the door. They know not to disturb me in that 10 minutes unless it's life-threatening. And, that's a boundary that we've put in place. So simple things like that.
And can you do it without guilt? Setting boundaries, I mean.
I can now. I can
Good for
now
you.
because I
Well, that's
really, and I guess the reason I can now is because I don't want to get back to that situation I was in before, because I'm no good to anyone in that situation. I
exactly.
can't raise, that was a serious look at mortality for our whole family, and they don't want me to get back to that situation. I don't want to get back to that situation, so there's no guilt. It's
Good for you.
actually kindness to everyone.
You just hit it. You just nailed it. That's exactly what it is. It's kindness to everyone. Because when you're your best self, that's when the great things happen, right?
Yeah.
When you're not, that's when the challenges arise.
Yeah. And when you're your best self, you're being a really great role model for others. So in setting these boundaries and practicing self-care, I'm also teaching my daughter and my son to do the same.
Very good.
You know, we could go on for a long, long time, Robyn, but
We
we're
could.
at the point that we need to wrap up. But so here's what we'd like to do. We want to ask you if you have just 3 simple nuggets about kindness that you would like to share with our audience, that things that have helped you and benefited you in your life.
Oh, well, the very first thing is make it a daily habit. Probably the second one is tune into it. Be consciously aware of it when it's happening to you, for you, or you're doing it, or you're observing other people. But tune into it, because that's positive energy, and humans thrive on positive energy. And the third one, yeah, probably the self-care, the self-kindness. Make it a priority, and it's not selfish. It's it's important to be your best self, to be a role model for others. So self-care is one aspect of that, and you deserve it as much as anyone.
Love that. You do deserve it.
Thank you, Robyn. That's great. How can our audience get a hold of you, connect with you on LinkedIn or the Kind Community Project? What's the best way to connect with you?
Probably the best way to connect with me is through my main website, which is choosethetude.com. Tude
Choose
being
the
short for
Tude.
attitude. Yeah, Tude is short for attitude.
Mhm.
And it's all about taking personal responsibility for your attitudes and your choices. So, and that's where the Kind Communities Project can be accessed as well. So that's probably the easiest place, choosethetude.com.
Very nice. Thank
Wonderful.
you so much. I mean, yeah, we literally could talk for hours with you, and
Likewise.
there's a lot of synergy. I know we're going to connect it in a lot of ways, both here, online, and hopefully down under. I mean, we have a community, a worldwide community that's growing every single day, and it's beautiful to see, and we're so glad that you're part of it.
Yeah, and I'd love to bring the kids to America one day.
But I want to throw something out there. You know, we haven't said this on our podcast before, but we need to be saying it more often, is we are partners with a wonderful organization called Kindness Worldwide. And they are working, they're a nonprofit organization started by our good friend Kevin Smith that is working here in the United States to take Kindness Week worldwide to all the communities in our country. And they are expanding around the world. And one of our newest ambassadors for Kindness Worldwide in the land down under is this lovely lady named Robyn Simpson.
Yes.
And so we appreciate you being willing to step into that role, and thank you for all you're doing to be a trailblazer. Really, you're an ambassador, you're a trailblazer, you're opening the way for Kindness Worldwide to come there. So
I appreciate that. And I'm so excited to be working with the likes of you guys and Kevin and all the other people that are part of the Kindness Worldwide movement, because it really is inspiring. And, you know, for the longest time, I felt like a lone nut trying to make a difference. But now I feel like there's an expanding network happening and coming together and collaborating. So, you know, it's very inspiring.
It's a beautiful thing, and there is strength in numbers, because sometimes you can feel isolated, like, oh my gosh, I'm doing it, it's just me. But there's so many people out there, and as we've opened up, and really our podcast is becoming international. It used to be just American centric or whatever, but now it's literally international, and there's no going back, because there's kindness in every part of the world, and we just want to showcase that. And there's a lot of good things that are going to happen, Robyn. I promise you that, and we're just grateful that we that you came on our show today.
yeah.
Thank you for
Well,
having me. I've appreciated it.
we're so appreciative, Robyn. Thank you so much. We want to thank our audience for taking the time to listen today. We appreciate you joining us. We appreciate your support. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and to our other social media channels. And if you are open to it, we want to take this show, the Kindness Factor podcast, to a broader audience on the Kindness Factor Human Interest series. And you can help support us in doing that by going to our Buzzsprout page, which is in the comments, clicking on the link and supporting us through a monthly subscription. You can pay anywhere from $3 to $10. We appreciate you joining us. And if that resonates with you, click the button and do it. Thank you so much. And until next week, remember, with kindness,
Everybody wins,
everybody wins.
even in Australia.
Even in Australia.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Robyn.